Alright guys, here is day 2 on parabolas. The difference today is we're going to be shifting the vertex. So that's what you're going to see is different today, is that the vertex is going to be shifted. So now you're going to see these letters inside the parentheses, and that's how you're going to be able to figure out what your vertex is. What I need you to be careful about is you're going to have to think opposite. When you graph the vertex, it's because they're in parentheses, you have to do the opposite direction when you go to move it. So let's just jump into an example. So here's our first example. The very first thing I want to do is I want to write down the vertex. That's what's different today. We're going to write that down. So I'm looking at these numbers here. Please make sure you think opposite for 1. And 2, put them in order of x comma y. This one happens to be in the right order right now, but they won't always. So the vertex is 2, -1. Again, we're doing opposite of what we see. I then graph that right away. That's over 2, down -1. And then we're still doing what we did for the parabolas yesterday, is that number out in front, that's what we set equal to 4p to figure out what our movement's going to be. So we know that p is equal to 1. And then I need to think carefully about what's in control here. It's the one that's not squared, that's on that 4p side. That means right now y is in control. Which means to graph my parabola, I'm going to move up 1 to get where the focus would be, and then I'm going to go down 1 to get the directrix. And then to do my last step of graphing, I just have to look at what that distance is. That distance here is out 2, so I'm going to move right 2 from the focus point and left 2 from the focus point. And then this is going to be my parabola. Notice it faces up because y is positive, or p is positive, and y is in control. So then the last step we got to do is we do need to write out the coordinates of the focus point. These ones shift a whole lot, so I read them just from the graph. So for the focus one, I'm just literally looking at this point here and saying that is over 2, up 0. Make sure you're reading from the origin. And then the directrix, I'm looking at where I put that dotted line. That went down -2, and it's a y equals line because it goes through the y-axis. So y equals -2 is the directrix. Let's try another one. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do in number 2 again is do the vertex. So I'm looking at these two numbers, but right away what I need you to pay attention to with these two numbers is they are in y-x order. So make sure you put the x one first. It's -3, -5 would be the vertex because I'm thinking opposite. Over -3, down 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. That's my vertex. And then I'm looking at 8p to figure out how far I'm going to move. I have to do 4p equals 8 and divide by 4. P equals 2. And then I'm paying attention to what's in control. The x is the one that's not squared. The first degree one is what's in control. So x is in control this time, which means I'm moving in the +2 direction in the x direction to find the focus point. And I'm going to go in the -2 direction to lay down the directrix. And then I'm moving a total distance of 4 between these, so it's going to be in 4 both ways from the focus point, so that I can draw that parabola that's facing to the right. So the focus point's coordinates, we're just reading those off the graph. That's over -1, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1, -5. And the directrix is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's horizontal, so it's an x equals line because it goes through the x-axis. X equals -5. Okay? Then this next one steps up a notch, and I'm actually going to have you try to do one of these on Class Kick today. The difference with this one is we cannot see the vertex. We actually have to rewrite it to see the vertex, and to rewrite it we have to use completing the square. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the y squared and the y on this side, and I'm going to push the not squared variable and the number to the other side. So that's going to be -4x plus 7. What I really want to see in this problem is parentheses, so I know where the vertex is. Excuse me. In order to get those, I have to complete the square. So I'm going to put a plus blank here to complete the square. And then to keep it balanced, since I did that on the left side, I'm also going to put a plus blank on the right side. And now this goes back to something we did like long time ago, first semester, is we've got to do b, I'll write out the formula for you, b divided by 2 squared is how you complete the square. So the only place we need to complete it for this problem is on the right hand side, because that's the only one that has a square. So that's going to be 2 divided by 2 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. That goes in the blank, and it goes in the blank on the other side. And then the whole point of doing that is that this left side right now is a perfect square trinomial, is I can take that and I can factor it down. That's really y plus 1 squared. You take the square root of the first term, you take the sign from the middle term, and you take the square root of the last term to get that. And then that's equal to, on the other side we have negative 4x plus 8. Now that right side we still have to do one more step too, because we can't see what p is right now if it's attached to the x. We've got to unattach that negative 4. So that side is also going to get parentheses just by taking out the greatest common factor. So if I take out negative 4, I'd be left with x minus 2. This is what we have to be able to do to get it in the correct form. And now we can do everything we did on the other problems. The vertex is going to be 2, negative 1. And then our value for p, if I do 4p equals negative 4, p is going to be negative 1. And I know looking at this that x is in control. So let's start graphing this stuff. Over to down negative 1. X is in control and it's negative this time, so that means I'm going in the negative direction to get the focus point, and to get the directrix I would actually go in the positive direction 1. And then this is 2 away from each other, so we're going to go 2 up and 2 down from the focus point, so I can graph my parabola. And then the focus point, we're just giving those coordinates, that's over positive 1 down negative 1. And the directrix goes through the x-axis, so it's an x equals line, and it's going through positive 3. X equals 3. Okay? So then these next ones are just looking at writing equations now if there's been some shift here. So I like to do these best by graphing them because it's just so visual to me. So I'm going to graph everything first. The vertex is over 6 down negative 3. And the focus point is over 8 down negative 3. So just by having those two pieces of information, it's going to help me decide what's in control right now. Because this red point is the vertex, and I know it has to go around, that the parabola goes around the focus point, I know that it's facing that way. So this means that x is in control right now, which means I'm going to start on this side with y minus k squared equals 4p, and the x is going to go with the 4p on this side, x minus h. So then we can plug in the vertex into the formula. Remember, this is h, this is k. Just keep the x value with x and the y value with y. So this is going to be y plus 3 squared equals 4p times x minus 6. And then we do need to figure out what p is. By looking at the graph, this is the other reason I like the graph, is if I go from the focus, or from the vertex to the focus, that tells me that p is 2. So that means I'm going to plug the 2 in right here, and my final answer is going to be y plus 3 squared has to equal 8 times x minus 6. That's what this equation should be. So here's another one that's similar. The difference is they gave me the directrix this time. So that's going to be, let's graph, oh, and they gave me the focus. I didn't even read it yet. So let's graph what they gave us. Over negative 7 up 2. And then the directrix is at y equals positive 8 up here. So there's a problem with this one right away. We don't even know what the vertex is right now. They didn't tell us that. We have to figure that out by what's going on with the graph. So you have to realize that if you know where the focus point is and you know where the directrix is, that the vertex is going to be somewhere smack dab in the middle here. I'm just going to count just to make sure that I find the right spot. So this is a total distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know if I go on 3 on either side of it, that's where the vertex has to go. And then that tells me my parabola is facing down. so let's go ahead and write down the coordinates of that vertex point. That's over -7, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I just realized I didn't graph it over 7, I graphed it over 6. Pretend it's graphed over 7. I'm not going to redo the video right now. And then the other part that I need is I need to figure out what P is, so I can write the equation. The P is the distance to go from the vertex to the directrix. This time that's moving down, so the P is negative. In order to get it to face down, the P is going to be -3. So now I can put those all into the equation that keeps the thing in control that's in control in the picture. We know that Y is in control because it's facing down. So that means I'm actually going to start with x minus h squared on this side equal to 4p times y minus k. And then I'm just going to plug in the information. The x part of the vertex goes with the x. Make sure you do an opposite sign, so it's x plus 7 squared equal to, this is going to be -12 when I plug in that 3. I'm just taking that 3 and plugging it in there. And then it's going to be y minus 5. So again, for these types of problems, please graph it first. That's the best way that I could relate this to you guys, is if you graph it, everything you need comes out of the graph. You just then have to make sure you write it with the correct equation based on what's in control. Alright, you guys will find 2 problems to do on Class Kick, and then you need to work on the homework. And when we meet again on Thursday, there will be a in-class assignment over parabolas. Okay? So I'll see you guys again on Thursday, and if anybody needs help, come find me on Wednesday. I'd be happy to help.